Welcome to another video on using Alexa APL. This time I'm going to be looking at see how we can use the graphical user interface to do something very simple. Just add a text box and get the text on that box to be spoken when it gets loaded. To do that, we'll use transformers. So again, I've got a lot of video, some notes about it, which I'll make available on a GitHub. A good video you can watch is this YouTube video from Gaetano Usmani. He's also got this blog which talks you through it as well, which takes you through. But again, it's just a bit too detailed, so I really wanted just something very simple. So let's start by creating something. We'll call it text to speech. And we'll just create a skill to do that. And I'm going to create a Python skill. I'll give it a name, text to speech. Create the skill. And we'll just continue with a scratch template. Okay, this is going to take a bit, so we'll just go through and have a look at what we're going to do here. So these are the two videos. So we're going to create a new skill. We're going to add the APL language because we're going to use that, and we'll rebuild the model. Then what we're going to do is we're going to use a visual response, and we'll create the design that we want using these multimodal responses, and we'll see how it goes from there. So how are we doing? That's still creating. I'll just pause the video while that's going then, shall I? Okay, so that's done the build. As I said, what we're going to do here is going to go to multimodal responses. We're going to create a visual response. Create a visual response, and this takes us into the graphical user interface where we can create our own. There are some templates you can use, but I'm just starting with a blank template. Okay, so this is what we get here. When we add items in the graphical user interface up here on the left, we'll get them displayed here on the right. So let's just see what I say in my notes, just to make sure I follow those correctly. So we've done this. We're going to create this, and we're going to add our first component. That's going to be a container. That's just going to contain everything else that we want. So we go here. We've selected the main template. Oh, note this payload here. We'll come back to that in a bit. And we're going to add a component, and we're going to add a container. And then within the container, we're going to add another component. Yeah, that's about right. We're going to add another component, and it's just going to be, we're just going to add a text. I'll just do this in this one, but in the next, I'll just follow this on in another video, so they're all fairly short, where I'll add an image to what we've already got, and then we'll see if we can add the text. So that's added our text, and you can see we've got something lined up here, which is our text. We'll just set the height that we want. I always found these very difficult. We'll need to give it an ID later. And where's the width and height? Here's the width. So we'll set the width to 100 vertical width. So 100 width, and we'll set the height to 100 VH. So, oh no, we don't. We'll set it to 10 VH. We don't want it the whole height. Okay, so that's all right. Let's just see how we're doing with my notes. Added the container, added the text component, 10 VH high, and we'll add some text, and we'll show that you can display some text. So I'll just copy this, because we'll need that in a minute. And we'll see that we can just add some text up here somewhere. Was text. Here's some text there. I've tried this one before, and it displays them. In fact, we could actually now save that, download it, and that would run in our code, and we'll see that in a bit. So the other thing I did say that we're going to move on to do then is, obviously the text is hard-coded here in this, which we may not want. So we can also have a data JSON where we can have our data which we can refer to, which we can call. And if you've done any coding of this, you'll remember that there is we load up a main JSON and also a data sources. This is where our data sources come from. And so we can have our data here, and now we can see that we've got some data properties. In this case, I've used the Alexa example for a cat text. So we've got our graphical user interface, which got our text. Currently displaying here some text in this text box. Oh, sorry. Where's the text box gone? And we've added some data in a data area. Now, if I change the data, what's in the text to this code here, this dollars curly brackets payload, which we've just seen, data properties cat text, is how we access the data that's in our data JSON. So I'll just copy that and I'll paste that into the text area here. And immediately you see that it's picked up what we had in our data. So it's gone payload, data properties, cat text, and it's picked up not all cats, like catnip. Oh, when you're typing, you get some red underlining. Don't worry, that's most probably just the editor doing that. It doesn't indicate an error. So, okay, so we've got what we want so far. We've got our display. What we want to do now is actually get the Alexa to speak what the code or the text is here in this. Oh, it's woken my Alexa up. And the way we do that is we use a transformer. There are various transformers. You can transform from APL audio to speech, SML to text, text to hint, but the one we're going to use is going to be this text to speech transform. Now, the way a transformer works, it takes an input path, which is going to be our cat text. So go back here, and when we're going to place the transformer in here, and it's going to pick up this cat text. In other words, not all cats like catnip. And it sends that to an output name, which is output speech, and we'll see how we put that in our code in a minute. And then there's, of course, the transformer. So we need to add this transformer information to the data. And I'll just copy this, or actually I'll take this one because I know this one works. Just be very careful about the way you get this out. This caused me quite a problem because I got this transformer in the wrong place and it kept on failing. It said it was okay, the JSON was fine, it was, but as soon as I tried sending it to a device to test it, it failed. So just be careful about how you get everything laid out. Remember, we want this transformer to be on the same level as this data, this property, so that it can pick up the cat text within this property. So we'll just change this data so that it has that now. Oh, it failed to pick up a curly bracket. So what's the next step then? So we've got this transformer going to pick up this cat text. So what we now want is we want to know how we get it to do the speech. Now the speech is done by a property in the text component called the speech property. So that's going to define the link to the output of the transformer. So we're going to add these two. Or you can either do it in the GUI or the editor. I'm just going to do it in the editor. I think it's most probably quickest for me. And we'll see. So if we go back to the editor, we click this APL, so you can look at your JSON here. This is what's being created as we put the items in. So we've got our payload data properties, our text box, and our width and height. So if I add that, I've got an error. I've got a bad string. Oh, I know why. It's because I've copied it from the Word document, and it's got curly brackets. Oh, should not have additional. Oh, sorry. That's better. There you are. So now we've finally copied that correctly. So now what we've got here is we've got this speech item, which is this payload data properties output speech. Payload data properties output speech is picked up from this transformer, which picks its input up from the catfact text. So let's see what we do now. Oh, we could have done it in the GUI. I'll just show you how we can do it in the GUI. All those things have been added for us in the GUI. So somewhere down here, there's my text. There's the ID. We'll need the ID in a minute. Catfact text. And somewhere down here, there should be a speech as well. Can't find it. Okay, I can't find it, but it was there somewhere. Oh, it's just above the ID. Okay, so we need an event for this to occur. We're going to use onMount. So whenever the text box appears, it'll display, it'll say what was the code, the text we wanted to announce. So we can either add this in the APL, which is what I'm going to do here, or in the code. If you put in the code, you need, we'll see that later anyway. So the onMount code here needs a speak item. And the speak item obviously needs to know which component it's going to speak about. So it needs the component ID that it's going to look up. So when the onMount event occurs, it knows it's got to speak something. It knows it's got to look for the component ID, the catfact text ID, which here is in the same one here. It's this ID catfact text. But of course, I could, if I got a picture there, I could relate that to the picture, and it could say some the speech that's related to the picture. So let's just borrow all this code again and hope that the text hasn't changed too much. Oh no, I tell you what we'll do. We'll do it the easy way. We'll take this onMount and we'll add that into the APL for okay, just a couple of commas in the wrong place. So now what we've got is we've got this onMount, and it should speak the item. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to save that while I'm on a good place. So we'll save the template. I don't know, speech APL, doesn't really matter. Save it, so just in case everything goes wrong. Okay, so again, you could add this to the GUI, but it's a bit, because it's all in one line, it's a bit tricky. I'll show you that it's been added to the GUI. Right down there it is. There's the onMount event, and it's added what we wanted. Still can't find the speech. I'm sure the speech was there somewhere. Should be there somewhere. Oh, there's the speech, and this is where our item that's going to be spoken comes from. The output speech is the output of the transformer. Okay, let's see how we're doing. if you want to do this in the Python code rather than the JSON, you'll need to add an execute commands directory with the speak item. We might see that later. Okay, so we should be able to try this now. Should be able to click the play button and let's see what happens. Before we'll create a skill that uses it, we'll just check that it works. So what it should say is it should say not all cats like catnip.
Not all cats like catnip.
Okay, that sounds like that works. You should also be able to, oops, that won't work, be able to send it to a device if you've got a device that's linked with it. I've got an Echo Spot here. I don't know whether my Echo Spot is nearby. Yeah, okay, I don't know if you heard that, but it's tucked away in a cupboard somewhere. So that seems to work. Excellent. So we hopefully now understand how we can add a text to a container, add some speech to that text, and get a transformer to add some text to the text, and how they get the transformer to use to add the speech. Okay, now let's going to create a skill that uses this. Well, I started off by creating a new Alexa hosted skill, and I'll return to that. So that's created this skill. We went to multimodal responses before, but what we do need, if we're going to create a skill that uses APL, we need to add the APL to it. Okay, so we need to add the APL, save the interfaces, and won't let me build the model. Oh, yeah, no, that's okay. Oh, save the interfaces. I was just taking its time saving, and build the model. So while that model's building, we'll just go through what we need to do. We need to add some code. So before this launch request handler, we need to add this code supported interfaces. That's because the code that I write just checks that we've actually got a screen. We need to import JSON, and we need this import so that we can get this render document directive command we'll use, and also this execute commands directive, which we'll need to use if we add the speak item. And we need this load APL document. So we need to add this code at the top. So go to code. And just before launch request handler, we need to add all that code. Keep going. Just get your indentations right for Python. And what's the next thing we need to do now then? Okay, now we're going to replace the handler code. So this handler code mostly is the same, but I'll just talk you through it. So what we want here is I do a check. In other words, if we've got a screen, we can go ahead and do this code. If we haven't got a screen, I just say you haven't got a screen. I've left in, this code was on the original, I've just commented that out, and I've commented out the speak for it, because the speak obviously is now going to happen from our transformer output. Okay, now you'll notice that we've got to pick up these two documents as well, so we'll need to add those documents, and we'll find out where we get those from in a minute. Okay, so we can copy that and paste all that there. That looks good. Save. Right, so now we need two documents that were mentioned, so we need to, here we need to add, what the level, new file, I'll call one main.json, create the file, and that main.json is the one that we're going to get from this APL here. You can download the whole thing here and it all comes together and you can add that to your code, but I'm just going to copy these for now. So we'll copy that, and in our main.json we'll paste that and we'll save that, and we need one more and make sure it's at the right level. New file, and we'll call this data.json, and this is where our data is. Oh, no. Data.json. Type it right, create that, and again this is going to be the one from this data here, which has got our code and our transformer in it. So we'll copy that and data.json, Control V, and we'll save that. Now this is where I try running. We'll deploy this and we just hope that everything goes all right. We don't have any errors, or it doesn't look like we've got any errors speaking to us, so we'll deploy and we'll see what happens. This will take a minute or two, and in the meantime I'll just check the rest of this. Okay, so that's the end of my code, and the rest of the document has just got the complete working version. So let's just a quick recap then. So what we've done is we use the graphical user interface to create an APL design. We've got the code from that. We've added the text and the properties that we need for each of the items, the text, the type, the speech, the ID. We've added an on mount, which will do the speak item and speak the item in the component ID, which is the cat facts text, which is this one here. And that will get the output speech. The output speech comes from the output of the transformer, which is a text to speech, so it's looking for some text, and the text it's looking from is from the cat fact text, which should say not all cats like catnip. So all that replies now is for me to test this. Click the test button. I call it text to speech. Turn the development on. Type it in the box and cross your fingers.
Not all cats like catnip.
And there you are. We've got it in this display here. So that works really well. What I'll do is I'll stop there, and in another video I'll add a picture to it so we can have a picture for you. So I hope you enjoyed that. Keep watching.